the comment that was made about the offensive coordinator role, that's how it hit me. Again, reading between the lines, that I think that there are offensive minds out there that kind of restrict their thought process to the skill positions and the quarterback, kind of detach the offensive line and say, okay, well, we've got an offensive line coach. Just do your jobs, do your assignments, block, make sure guys are out of our way so we can then operate with the football in our hands. Versus there being maybe a next level or next layer to that that could be beneficial for somebody that sees it as one unit. That, we've got the skill position portion of it, and we're looking for matchups, and we're looking that the play generally involves just, of course, there's a blocking scheme, but the distribution of the ball versus let's put it all together and understand that certain play calls are better based on the strengths or weaknesses of our offensive line, or fit better with a certain type of blocking scheme that they can execute better than other blocking schemes, and that being more of a consideration than maybe it is with other offensive minded people that, again, are just matching up guys in space and thinking more in that direction solely.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. I think one of the things, I mean, to your point, Mark, I think in terms of blocking schemes, I think one of the things that I've consistently heard over the last couple of years related to Riley's run scheme is very complex, very, kind of difficult to learn type of situation. So if you've got offensive linemen that are, maybe a little bit more of a lower football IQ type of individual, don't really have the ability to understand, and maybe they're thinking a little bit too much on the field versus going. And so I think that's something that'll be interesting to kind of look at as you watch Oklahoma in the spring, and then certainly in the fall as well, just to see if the lack of complication on the offensive line, and not necessarily saying it's not still going to be there to a certain degree. So it's a little bit different, I think, as you're stressed maybe in a little bit of a different way as an offensive lineman this year as you were in previous years, meaning Oklahoma wants to go, Lebby wants to go really, really fast. They've talked about this numerous times in the spring about, that's been a little bit of a challenge for Oklahoma. Not in terms of they can't do it, just something that they've not really done a whole lot under Riley, especially over the last couple 2 or 3 years. You remember they went a little bit faster with Baker, went a little bit faster with Kyler, but then they started slowing things down a little bit over the last 2-3 years. So and even at that, they never went as fast as what Lebby does. You watch UCF, you watch Ole Miss the last couple of years, how fast they get up to the line and they're snapping the ball very, very quickly within 3 to 5 seconds in a typical fashion. So I think that's a little bit of a different stress but everything I've heard the kids are taking to it, and they're learning things really, really quickly. And so I think Lebby had talked about they are going to intentionally stress them a lot during the spring, and then hopefully they're in a position where they've got that on the job training, so to speak, here in the spring. And then they take a lot of time during the summer period to really just kind of learn learn that playbook, learn how to play, and specifically with some of their 7-on-7 stuff that they do in the summer, I'm sure.
Yeah, I remember watching an Ole Miss Alabama game early in 2020, and of course, Alabama marched on to a national championship, and by season's end had a national championship caliber defense. But that is probably the worst I've ever seen an Alabama defense under Nick Saban look. They gave up 48 points, and they gave up a zillion yards. I don't know what the yardage total was. It was some ridiculous number, like over 600 yards.
Yeah.
And it was the pace of the offense. And we think of that in the passing game primarily, but it was also in the running game. Alabama just being gassed and not being able to get off blocks, and Ole Miss gashing them in the run game as well. And it was a pretty impressive display. So that's what's headed to for Oklahoma football fans to see.
Yeah, and I think fans are used to it to a certain extent. Oklahoma went when Heupel was the offensive coordinator, they went really fast. When Kevin Wilson was the offensive coordinator, and this is going back a few years, but they went really fast. But yeah, to your point, I think this is a different animal, and so I think it's one of the things that probably a lot of the kids um, will learn. Obviously, this summer is that they may not necessarily be conditioned at this point to at this time to a point where they need to be able to play this type of an offense for a full season, so or full game, full season, however you want to kind of look through it. So I think this summer is going to be big for Oklahoma, just to get their bodies in a position where they can um, be able to do that, especially if you're not as deep at certain positions as you would like to be.
647 yards to be exact. Ole Miss against Alabama in that particular game just tore them to shreds for most of the game.